let me take up the next question from the video. There is no death. Again, the links are below to the two videos who want to watch them or read the question. And he says, "Hi GP, brilliant video. Thank you. As you said, if we're not attached to our own form, we will not be afraid of death. But what concerns me is, given the problems in the world, coming back in another form, won't those problems still exist and we suffer again? It is something I wouldn't want to go through over and over again." Well, I totally agree. I mean, nothing in the world could convince me that going through high school again is something I look forward to, right? We think of the past life and it's going to be glorious, but yeah, there's still going to be junior high and high school and broken hearts and look. Okay. Karma is simply sustained by my belief in a separate self, period, right? So the only remedy for karma, right, is to deal with the fact that you believe yourself to be a separate self, and that karma is simply the nature of it. It is the story, the dream story of this character in the movie. And when you look at the movie and you see the character, the nature of the character and the circumstances and everything, you can predict what's going to happen to them. You can see a thread that runs throughout that character in the movie. That's karma. Now, if I know I'm not that character in the movie, then I'm completely out of karma. It has nothing to do with me. And I can just look at life as it happens and not even need to interfere with it, right? As Nisargadatta said so brilliantly, so many things he did, he said, I leave my human life to fulfill its destiny. I remain as I am. That was somebody completely free from karma. It was just happening. It was just happening on the screen. And it wasn't happening to anybody. And it wasn't happening by anybody. And the idea that there was a somebody happening it to is the only thing that perpetuated it. And once that's seen, it goes on. There's a momentum to it that goes on, but there's nothing recreating it now. The projector has basically been unplugged and it's slowing down. But what's important to recognize is that all the karma of the character on the screen is no longer you. His destiny is not your destiny. Let it fulfill its destiny. It doesn't matter. Now, the attachment to the form, which you focused in on, and that's really it. My attachment to that person is the only thing that sustains it. The thinking that I am going to get something, right? I'm going to be rewarded in some way. I'm going to avoid something. I'm going to earn some merits and my next life is going to be better. But that's all there is to karma, right? And the next life is simply yet another dream appearing, just like your dreams at night. One ends, another starts. One ends, another starts. Maybe there's a period of nothingness, a period of emptiness there, because there's no content, so there's no sense of time or anything. There's no sense of self there. There's just the pure experience of being. So now let's take a look, after what I said here and in the previous question, at that space in between and this concern about given the problems of the world. Right? Well, the world you create in a dream, right? Is that going to be the world you create in the next dream? There may be some similarities, right? But it's all going to be different. Right? The big misunderstanding is that we believe ourselves to be a jiva, a soul, an individual being that's in a body. Right? And then the body dies, we leave that body, and then we come into another body in the same world. What we believe is that the world is static and real and constant, and we're the variable that goes in and out of it. But that's not your actual experience. I did do a video on this about what happened before you were born. After I did one after what happens after you die. What happens is that, like in a dream, the world appears to you. And that's your actual experience. Think about it. People told you they were here. We were here and you came in, right? That's not what you actually experienced. You experienced yourself continuously, and a world came and went. It appeared and disappeared, appeared and disappeared, appeared and disappeared. This is illustrated in many, many of the stories in the Hindu tradition. One of Vishnu asleep on the ocean of infinite being, out of his navel is growing a lotus, and when the lotus opens, sitting on the lotus is Brahman, the creator God. And every time Brahman blinks, the universe comes into existence. Every time he blinks, the last one goes out of existence, and the new one comes into existence. Now, Brahman remains the same, Vishnu remains the same, but the worlds come and go, come and go, come and go, come and go. That goes on for 1,000 years. The lotus closes, falls back into Vishnu's navel. Then another lotus opens up. Brahman again, different Brahman, same Brahman, who knows? Blinking, world comes into existence, goes out of existence. A universe comes into existence, goes out of existence. What are these things trying to say to us? That there's this being laying around somewhere, sound asleep, and there's stuff growing out of his belly button, blinking? No, it's illustrating this point that the world is constantly being created. It's constantly coming into existence and going out of existence, like the movie you're watching, right? The screen is the image on this screen is flashing 60 times a second. Every second, it's a new screen, right? It's coming into existence, going out of existence. So the world you're looking at right now on your computer screen doesn't have a consistent existence. Right? It's only a flash. And so that world exists only in your mind. We have a concept of the world, and that concept of the world, with all of its problems and difficulties, is what we don't want to have that again, right? And so we think, okay, I die out of this one. Am I going to get this all over again? As I said, whatever you bring with you, right? Which is why the work is here and now. What is the reality of this world? Is my concept of the world the reality of the world? Knowing as we do, or as you may be beginning to grasp, that the world is not a thing in and of itself. It comes and goes. What we experience is not the objective reality. It is our concept of it. Nobody experiences the world directly on any level. Our senses report a bunch of information. That information goes through a whole bunch of filters and processes and transformations from one form into another until it arrives somewhere, right? The eye doesn't see, right? It collects light. The ear doesn't hear, it collects sound, right? The nose doesn't smell, it collects whatever that substance of odors are. They all go into this other thing, which processes and adds stuff to them, and eventually it comes someplace where there's this cognizance that sees that image, but that image isn't out there. I mean, this is even the neurology of it. You'd never see what's actually out there. You see a watered down version of it. You see a concept of it. And what's happened is that our thinking, our thought patterns have overlaid onto the direct experience an idea of what it is, and that is what we interact with. And we all have a common idea, so we manage to interact somewhat, but nobody sees the same thing. Everybody has a completely different experience of it. Nobody sees the same tree. If you recognize that, you begin to realize you stop looking to try to find what's objectively true, and you start examining the mechanism by which I've come to believe it is true. And I start looking that I'm not experiencing what's actually there. I'm experiencing my belief. And my belief is held in place by the idea I have that what I'm experiencing exists objectively, independently of me. And therefore, I'm trying to find out its actual nature. And the beauty of the non-dual inquiry is it reveals that it doesn't have a nature in and of itself. There is no objective nature. The nature that it possesses is the nature you have projected on it, which means that what you are experiencing is simply the nature of consciousness itself. And the projector can't project anything it doesn't have. All the qualities you perceive are you. All of them. You are looking at yourself. So what now is the world? Is there a world out there that you have to get away from or get to? Right? Is there anything wrong with the world or just your concept of the world? It's a hard one. I admit it, right? I look around and go, holy shit. It's like, how? But what you're looking at is you're seeing the madness of mind. You're seeing the madness of the egoic mind. That's what you're seeing. It's not, it too is not an objective reality. Right? It is the belief in an objective reality as it begins to just completely fall apart. Right? When all the points of reference just fall away, when all the rugs are being pulled out from under us, what's left? That's where it gets highly unstable, as the ego grabs for something it can hold on to. And we see that. That's what's going on with the polarization, the divisiveness, the cruelty, the stupidity, the unashamed ignorance. It is the ego that has lost the reference point. And the truth is, it's looking for another one out there. What is the truth? And it keeps looking out there. We're saying this is the truth. And you have evangelicals and fundamentalists and political idealists and all sorts of things coming, that this is the absolute truth. And we've gotten to the point where intuitively human consciousness has developed to the point where we know intuitively it's not true. And you can tell the more aggressive it gets about holding on to that the more aggressive it gets, the more violent it gets, the more closed off it gets. And that's what we're seeing. So what do? You purge that from yourself. There is no objective world. And the more you see that, and the more that you look to the self, the inner truth, as the reference point, the more stable you become. And you're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for everyone.